All right, got everything cleaned. Got the balance shaft delete done. They're pounded in 180 degrees out now. So my main engine stand I normally use has a motor on it right now. Dug the spare out, then realized I can't find any bolts anywhere to put it on the stand with. Cool. Well, I guess I'm going to be building this one on the table with the cloth because it's got to get done and get to the customer. So I just got done cleaning and checking the squirters for this 6-bolt. Made sure all the little spring and check ball and everything inside the banjo bolts were functioning as they should. Cleaned them all, and then popped new washers in there because you're supposed to put new washers in. Reusing them, they could technically split. I'm sure guys have reused them before and it's been fine, but just not taking that chance. So now I'm gonna clean up the main caps and the girdle and get the bearings in there and torque it down and see what we got for some oil clearances on the mains. All right, welcome back everybody. It has been about 2 weeks since I've done a video. Been really busy. Haven't got around to it, been slacking, sorry. So, this is what is on, dang dog. This is what's on the agenda for tonight. Got a 6-bolt here that needs to be put together for a customer of mine. So we're gonna get this done. I got it painted already. Did that last night with it. All the machine work has already been completed to my requirements. Took almost 6 months for all the machine work to get done on this block. Unfortunately, the machine shop had their boring machine, the boring bar, break right before this one got done. So it took a little bit longer. Right now, I am just pounded out the original balance shaft bearings because this one is getting the balance shafts deleted. So you got to pound them out. They're different sizes, the two of them. You pound them back in 180 degree out. So they essentially, instead of having the holes lined up with the hole in the block, they're away from it and it plugs them. So it can no longer have oil come out of that hole. We get them pounded in and then it comes time to start scrubbing away like crazy. All right, quick little update. Crank is in, girdle's torqued down and everything. God, I hate doing this on a table, but you'd make do with what you got. So this motor, a set of regular standard size bearings, came out good with the clearance. Normally on a stock crank like that's been polished, you know, once or twice, it comes out good where you need it to be. That's why on the last motor we had to use different bearings to get the clearance right on that new Eagle that they even run a little fat. So now I am getting ready to put the pistons on rods and gap the rings. Just figured I'd do a little thing here because I've seen this and I've actually seen the results of this. When you're putting it together, these little retainers, these little circle clips, you would think that you want to line the gap up with the little gap on the piston, but that's wrong. It's actually supposed to be 180 degrees out. Don't line it up with that. If it walked any, it could pop out, wrist pin will walk out, and destroy a cylinder wall. This guy I'm building a motor for actually had that happen to his last motor. Whoever built it did not put that in correctly. And if you do get it in really close to that gap where the gap on the circle clip is, good luck trying to get it back out. It's really difficult to get out without scraping up the bore, the pin boss on the piston or something. When you got it 180 degrees out, it won't walk out. And if you have to take it out, you can get a little pick in there and pop it out. So, a little tidbit on that. All right, quick little update. This is how the stuff is sitting at the moment. Got rings all gapped, everything, got it put together almost all the way. Started measuring out the rod bearing oil clearance and it ended up a little bit too tight. You need 0.002 minimum for mainly rods, and I was a little bit under on it. So gonna have to order some 1,000 extra oil clearance bearings for the rods. I don't have any for a 6-bolt sitting around. We do a lot more 7-bolt stuff than 6-bolt stuff, so it's unfortunate, but you'll have that. We'll have a set of bearings here, and it'll be a day or two. I get them real quick, so it'll be finished up next week now and can finally get back to the customer. He's anxiously waiting for it, so that's where we're at for now. All right, everybody. It is a week later now from when I started doing the video on this motor. Got to checking the rod bearing clearance, and it was coming up, I had to look at the sheet, a little bit under 2 thousandths though for oil clearance. And that's too tight. Mainly needs at least 2 thousandths oil clearance on their rods for the oil clearance on the rod bearings. So it took a week to get some thousandths extra oil clearance bearings. So I'm gonna smack them in there and just check with some plasti right now how close I'm getting. I did originally actually bore gauge these and get the exact amount, but they were all consistent, and I also used a stretch gauge on them when I checked it in the vise and know what I need to torque them to get the proper stretch on the bolts. So I'm gonna put the bearings in, torque it down to the amount I found out to stretch it, and just see where they're at. Should be coming out, I'm gonna guess around 2.5 thou, right, which will be fine. That's pretty close actually to where the mains are in this motor. And that'll be a really good place to be. So I'm gonna torque them down quick and we'll see where we end up at. So, checked the rod bearing clearances and they came out right where I wanted. Little under 2.5 thou, which is a good place to be considering his mains were similar to that area. I don't want the rods tighter than the mains. I always want the rods looser. So everything's all put together and like it should be. Now I just got to flip it over and measure the piston protrusion. You can see I can actually move the assembly by hand. It's tough, but you can do it. If you get everything put together and you can't even like move it by hand at all, you have something wrong. So you can see this one here is a Wiseco HD 10-to-1s, mainly H-beams, ARP'd the mains and put a girdle in it. Should be a pretty sweet little 600 horse motor. It could do a little bit more, but I think that's what his goals are for now. I'm sure he'll want to do more in the future, but so I'm just gonna flip it over, measure the piston protrusion so I can do the math to figure out the real static compression ratio, and then I'll bag it up and tag it and get him his spec sheet put together and send it out. Be another motor done. This will be the 3rd one since the start of the year, so just clicking away here. All right, it's all finished up. Piston protrusion is 0 on this motor, so essentially piston's even with deck at top dead center. Usually they're 3 to 5 down in the hole, so that means this was a virgin block that was probably just had about 2 or 3 taken off of it to get it nice and flat and smooth, and now I can do the math to figure out the compression ratio. Going off all the numbers by memory, they're 10-to-1 slugs, but I'm thinking it's going to be about 9/8 to 1 is about where it'll end up at. It's real common to see them end up a little under 10-to-1, but it's all done. Camera never does a good job of showing the deck surface on it, but this one is decked again to under 50 roughness average, so it can seal a metal layer, because he's going to run like a Felpro Permatorque on this. And the math I did in 0.55 crushed Permatorque will put the quench area close to where I'd like it, a little wider, but from there we got to go down to like 30 or something on a Cometic or something, and then it gets too tight with how much his head's been shaved. So this quench area will end up at like 0.42, something like that. 035 is where I really like it, but it'll work real good too. So I'm gonna get this thing all sealed up and get it sent out to him, and yeah, that's where we're at. Sorry, real tired, real busy. Haven't had a video up in a long time. Sorry, lots been going on, a lot of updates I gotta get around to. A lot of progress was made on that GST that we built the motor on a month ago. Still waiting on cams. The GSC cams you ordered were a month out. They should be here any day now. As soon as they're ready, we'll drop it in the car, but everything else is sitting up there, and we're working on getting that all put together. So, if you took time to watch this, thank you. Like and subscribe. I got a lot more interesting stuff coming now that all this building the motors and whatnot is done for the moment. I don't have any more on the list right now, so I can get back into doing a bunch of tuning on some cars and start making some power. So, thank you. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.